welcome back to another episode of
She Means Well.
It Means Well. We're back.
5 million years later. It feels like it's been 5.
Dude, it has. Has it been 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think.
But by the time I think this comes out, it'll be 4.
Wow.
Which, I was feeling really sad about it at first when we realized, okay, we're not going to have an episode this week. We really tried planning because we had some things going on. So we really tried our best to okay, well, we can record here and we'll still be able to give them an episode. We're really worried about it, but I feel just so at peace about being able to take a hiatus, a little vacation from recording. Life has just been lifing.
I know.
It's just life doesn't stop. And as much as Bailey and I love doing this podcast, it really takes a lot of hard work and time that we've poured into it since we started it. And I think both of us were feeling a bit overwhelmed with all of that. And then all of the stuff life has been throwing at us, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's just been a lot that's going on. And at first, it was we were going on vacations and we're like, let's batch a couple episodes. And then we did, and we'll need to re-record because we had a friend on and something happened with the audio. So that was kind of the first punch to the gut.
Yeah.
Because we thought we were going to not be without episodes. Anyway. Yeah. And then I went on a trip to Mexico, and then you didn't end up going on your trip the next week.
Right.
But we were already.
Yeah.
Whatever.
With you saying that, I just thought of this right now. It's as much as that was a gut punch, it really sucked that audio not lining up with our dear friend on here. It was such a good episode, but I also feel like it was kind of God's timing too. I feel like because I am at such peace about not working so hard on the podcast this last month and really just focusing on getting some rest and focusing on family that's where my focus needed to be. It was God's timing that didn't, happen as much as I wish that episode could come out. We're going to record with her again.
Yeah.
But it was just, I think, confirmation from God that he wanted us to rest,
Yeah.
How was Mexico? Why did you go to Mexico? Tell us about it.
It was so much fun. I went with Jordan, and it was a work trip. So he was filming a wedding.
So cool, dude.
And it was so much fun to be able to go. That's the first, I think if I've.
Which is so crazy to me.
That I hadn't gone on a trip with him yet.
Right.
I know, because normally when he films weddings, he's filming with this other buddy of his wedding company. And so usually when it's a work trip, they go.
Okay.
And it's
not like it's just Jordan.
Yeah, it's not just
or Jordan and +1. It's Jordan and a team.
Well, no, it normally is just Jordan and Robbie, but it's Robbie's, Robbie subcontracts Jordan to go with him. Right. So everything Jordan is, I don't know.
It'd be a little bit different if Jordan was the one subcontracting people in.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and what was I going to say? Oh yeah, when Jordan is filming with him, he'll say okay, I have weddings booked on this date, that date, this date. And it's usually pretty last minute where it's oh, we're going to Arizona, or we're going to California. And I have been already booked with my work,
Yeah, your schedule would be really hard to
just last minute
take time for sure.
Yes, but with that said, I would love to continue to go. It was so much fun.
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to share a little bit of your Mexico trip because I just want to give you so much credit. It was so cool. Bailey, she has this film camera. She told me she got it for $2 from Goodwill.
Yeah.
And she brought it to the Mexico trip. And out of all of the photos, obviously Jordan, he's a professional. He takes amazing photos. He's so good with coloring. But Bailey, she brought the film camera and she just shot behind Jordan during this wedding, during their trip. And those are my favorite photos of your guys' trip. They turned out so good.
It was so much fun. Film just
it's effortless.
I was trying to explain it to my client. She's like, will you explain what is it about it? And I'm like, it truly is just a real photo. It's capturing, and the I guess with different film, you could have different tones and colors. And so I got one it was Kodak Gold. So it's just very
You did
warm.
your research. Love that.
Yeah, but a ton of film. The wedding photos were, and it was, you're just in a perfect setting, so you can't fail.
But give yourself some credit here. You did the research. You got the the correct film that had the good coloring for the tropics
Oh
and
my gosh,
beach
one
and
time I didn't do my research and I
oh,
took film and I when you go through TSA with film, you just have to have them hand check it because sometimes the scanner can mess it up and
I
sometimes
wanna
it
know
doesn't.
why.
It's probably like magnetized
So
or
mess it up how?
something.
Like, it just wipes it
The
or
lighting, yeah, I don't know. Because if you expose film to light, it is
right,
ruined before
right.
you get it developed. So I don't know if it like
Zaps it.
the radiation, I don't know what's
Yeah,
happening in
that's
there.
when
Yeah,
mhm.
I don't know, but it gets ruined. So yeah, that did happen once when we went to Vegas and it makes everything just blown out orange, just you can't even make an image out. It was
Right.
dumb. So anyway, but I did have a panic attack because I forgot when we got to Mexico, I'd like completely spaced and they're like, bags over here, bags over there, through the scanner, through the scanner. And it was
Oh.
just stressful. And I didn't even realize until we were on our way home. I'm like, wait, I totally sent the film through the scanner. And, at the wedding, I'm like, yeah, I'm shooting on film, like to the couple, like you'll get these back before you get your real photos back. Like I haven't seen any of the photos Jordan shot at the wedding,
Mhm.
actually. And so anyway, that was stressful. And then I got home the next day and developed it. And I was like praying. I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh gosh,
goodness,
please,
Bailey.
please be okay. But it
That'd
was
be
great.
horrible. Cool.
Yeah, it would have been just a waste of money, but
Well,
it
while
was
you
great.
were in Mexico, I was supposed to be in Hawaii, but that's okay. Obviously, I wasn't supposed to be there. I was supposed to be here home. At
Uh-huh.
first, when my trip got canceled, I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm just gonna grind out on the podcast and get some administrative things done here at home while Bailey can enjoy her vacation, relax, whatever. Um, but no, that's not what happened either.
But no.
So funny. We have all these like plans and ideas of our own, but then God's like, no, that's not what we're gonna do. So I just really dedicated that week that Bailey and Jordan were gone to truly resting. That's an area where I feel like I really do struggle, especially when it comes to like the podcast, just because I'm so passionate about it. I just want to go, go, go. That's how I operate. And that week, I just really unplugged and recharged.
Mhm.
Spent a lot of quiet time in the Word with family. That's what I really needed.
Mhm.
And I feel so happy to be here recording again. I feel refreshed. I feel like creative. I feel, yeah, this is just good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right before our trips, that this was a big thing too, and,
Yeah.
we talked about it on our post the other day, but Gaga, our beloved Gaga that you guys all know and love too, she had a stroke, and that
Mm.
was, like, a really alarming thing, and she went to the hospital. I was actually doing both of our mom's hair that day, and she
Mm-hmm.
called and she's like, strangest thing happened, like, my right hand just feels so weak, like, I can't explain it.
Yeah.
So our moms took her to the urgent care that night,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so that was like a punch to the gut reality check kinda thing, you know?
Yeah. To say the least. And she she went to the hospital. She stayed overnight. But then she was discharged within that next morning. It really was a gut punch and a reality check to really spend time with your loved ones as much as you can. Bailey and I are both so close to Gaga, and I personally have never gone through any. Family's been healthy. Like we
Mhm.
really haven't had any loved ones pass away. I know that you have experienced that. We touched on that a couple of episodes ago, and that was really hard for you. It was really hard to watch you go through that too. Oh, sorry, my phone. Um, but I never have, and it really got me shaking in my boots. We're so
Mhm.
close with Gaga, and she truly is the foundation of our family. So yeah, that was it took a lot, even though she's okay and she's recovering, and I believe God's going to heal her arm completely. It's hard because when, your grandparents, they get older, things like that, it really does take a toll and it slows them down quite a bit. And Gaga's been healthy.
Mhm.
I mean, when I was in, I think 5th grade or 6th grade, she got melanoma
Mhm.
cancer.
Mhm.
But she, had surgery, had it removed, and thank God it didn't spread very far. And
Mhm.
God was in his hands were all over that too. But I was younger too, and I don't think realize how
Like the
scary
weight of
the
that.
weight of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, you guys just keep Gaga in your prayers. Like I
Um,
said, she's healing, she's recovering, but please just pray for her. She's our best friend.
oh my gosh, she's everything. And I'm
She
like
is.
slightly laughing because when she was leaving the hospital, she told my mom, "You know, That was such a wonderful experience. And like, that sounds just like her.
She's like, "Bye, Jenny. Bye,
She
Greg."
said, my mom said
Like,
every nurse that was involved with her care there gave her a hug on the way out.
I'm not surprised.
No, not at all.
She's so amazing.
She is.
I always describe her to people as she's a walking angel on earth.
Oh, so
Seriously.
true.
Angel energy.
Angel energy.
Serious.
Yeah, she's the best. But yeah, please be praying for Gogs. We want her around forevs.
Forever. She cannot leave. Are you kidding?
No.
Not in my world.
No,
I would, this is kind of deep and dark, but like, I would rather go first for sure. I don't want to be around if Gaga passes. If she won't, I'm convinced she won't.
Okay, well, I don't want you to go early, so.
Well, I would rather go than her. Wouldn't you? I don't want to go through that.
I mean, I
No,
don't
not
want to
you.
go through that, but I mean.
That's a morbid question to ask. I'm sorry.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, jeez.
Just pretend I didn't ask you that, okay? But that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, that's whatever. Okay, next thing.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So my dog Rufus, he, bless his heart. I made a mistake. So I scheduled his groomer's appointment. He's an Aussie Doodle, so he has really long hair. You have to brush it. It gets curly, whatever. And he hadn't been to the groomers. He was definitely overdue. His groomer's booked out. And so for like a month, I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be rough. Like he's starting to get matted because he's itching. And then his nails are getting caught, poor buddy. And so I'm like,
That happens to me when my gel is peeling. Doing a shampoo, I'm like,
funny. So I'm like, well, let me just like trim him up on these mats that he has. Bailey and Jordan get home. They're like, Abby, he looks like mangled.
It was like every time I saw him, I feel like his fur was getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Gosh.
Like by his butt.
Everywhere, baby. He literally looked like he got mangled by a bear. And I was taking him to a new groomers that he hadn't been to before. Big reviews on like doodles and things. I'm like, okay, let's try it out. I'm like, I'm so embarrassed. They're going to think I neglect this dog. They're going to think I don't touch him. Like, or maybe I do. I don't know. But he looked like a leopard or something.
They got to see all things.
They didn't judge me. I took him in today and
by the way,
so good.
This morning was so funny. I was like, woke up early, washed my hair, and Abby had told me like, oh yeah, his appointment's at 9 in the morning and then we'll record after.
Awesome. Here we go.
And I was blow drying my hair and then I looked down at my phone and it was like 8:40 something. And I was like, did she say she's getting up at 9 or leaving at 9? So then I went and knocked on her door and I was like, hello? And hello? Are you awake? Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I hate when I do that. I literally act like I'm awake. I've been awake.
Pitch black in there too.
I know.
But the funniest part was I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, I'm up. And then I closed her door and then I went back in my room and I had my AirPods in because I was listening to a podcast while I was blow drying my hair. I didn't even hear a peep. And then I'm like, I hope she didn't fall back asleep again. And I looked out the front window. It was maybe 2 minutes later and you were already gone.
I don't mess around. If I gotta go, I gotta go.
It was literally 5 seconds. And I was like, she's gonna show up with the groomer in her PJs.
I basically was. Yeah. I literally left the house with my bra in my hand. Like I put it on as I was driving. I hate when I do that. I just act like I've been up for hours. I act like I went to the gym. I made breakfast.
I said, are you up? Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like I don't know how I do that either. Like I act like I sound like it too.
I was like, maybe her alarm went off and I didn't hear because my headphones. But then I was like, she definitely wasn't on her phone. Like you weren't sitting up.
No, I am a punctual person when it comes to professional things.
Yeah.
To work.
Same.
I won't be late there. I mean, recently I was. But that's like maybe the second time in my life that I've been late like that.
Yeah.
But this is so bad when it comes to like
extracurricular,
but especially if it's pressing, like I really need to be there on time. I do not know what happens the night before. I will be late. I will miss my alarm.
It's like you're in the deepest sleep of your life.
Deepest sleep.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of when I went to Mexico with my office.
Oh.
Did I already tell the story on the podcast? I don't know.
I don't know if it was on the podcast, but
I'll just be quick. So one of the doctors that I work with, we were gonna carpool together, and I woke up when I was supposed to be leaving, or I think almost to his house. I was almost supposed to be to his house because he called and was like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Oh," again, acting like I had been awake. Um, and this is a trip with like 20 people too. Like we're all getting on the same flight. I had to be there. And so I'm like, "I'm on my way." And he literally was so mad. He was like, "That's BS. You're not here. Figure
He's
out your ride." Yeah, he gets so stressed when it comes to like planning stuff. Yeah, it's okay.
That's
We love
BS.
each other and it was fine, whatever. So I ended up driving with
You
Madison
found
and
another ride?
Devin. Yeah. But cuz love you guys, but Madison also is kind of like me, like
You're like, I know
she'll
she's
run
not left
late. Yeah.
yet either.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I know that she's probably running behind too. So yeah, I ended up riding with them and it worked out fine. But I seriously like threw on an outfit. I have a picture. I look like Dan from that one show on Netflix, You. I literally looked just like him. I was in like cognito. I have a picture. I sent it in our like work group chat. Dan's coming. Like I keep saying Dan because I'm thinking Dan Humphrey from Gossip Girl.
Right. That's exactly who I thought too, but I don't know
Yeah.
his name in that show.
I don't know either. But anyway,
I have a
I'll be
question.
working on that.
Did you take off the tooth gem?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I thought it was on the upper.
It used to be.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was literally just looking at you talking. I'm like, I don't know you
I know.
anymore.
I forget that I have it. I want to get it off. It
You do?
seems young.
Yeah.
Nobody
You
sees
don't
it
see
though.
it.
Mm-mm. It's fun. It was fun while it lasted.
That's
Anywho,
funny. I thought you had it.
yeah.
Okay, wait. I feel like there's something in my notes. Didn't you have something in your notes to chat about?
Yeah, I do. Something bad happened to me recently.
What?
A lot of good things have happened too that I want to talk about, but I want to talk about this story. So I get to work. You guys, I get to work. If I'm not first to get there, I'm second to get there. It's always me and Jen. And I noticed in the operatory that I work out of, like the sink wasn't working, the water wasn't running. Okay, that's weird. Whatever. Didn't think much of it. I'm still half asleep. It's like 5:50 a.m. And then I go to the bathroom like I typically do.
Morning poop. I'm just kidding.
I mean, she said it, not me. But yes, I had a lot of coffee that morning. And did what I needed to do. It wouldn't flush, dude.
Oh, wait. You literally are telling a story about going to the bathroom. Wow. Okay. I'm here
Yeah.
with you.
It would not flush, dude. And it was, before everybody gets there.
Was it in the front, in like the main lobby bathroom? In the
No.
main building?
No, it's like in our
I've
bathroom.
been sweating in that bathroom before a couple
I
times.
probably could count on one hand how many times I've even walked in that
Oh,
bathroom.
really?
Yeah. But no, it was in like the bathroom that just my coworkers and I use, but it's like in a common area where traffic goes through all day long. I'm like, oh, I felt like the Dumb and Dumber where he's like scooping it and throwing it outside. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, this is so embarrassing. We don't have a plunger. Yeah.
Why are there bathrooms with no plungers?
I don't know, dude.
Ever.
And then I was like, well, then maybe I can just like scoop it and put it in the sink or something. But I forgot.
Scoop what and put what in the sink?
Scoop the things in the toilet and put it in the sink, dude. I was panicking. And I
My
also.
hands are sweating. Why the sink?
Where else?
The trash?
The trash and just water sitting in a trash can? I don't think so.
Wait, I'm sorry. We just got to get candid here. You were going to put your poop in the sink?
Yes.
And then what? Blast it with scorching hot water?
At least it would go down the drains.
I guess.
But I forgot that the water.
Let's say you forgot your poop in the sink.
So I thankfully I only scooped like one thing of water. It was just like the water and my pee. This is so gross,
what are you
guys.
scooping with?
A cup.
Okay. So
Like
there's
a
cups in there,
disposable.
but no plunger, huh?
And then I'm like, oh my gosh, the water doesn't work. So like, not only can I not flush, but now I have two problems on my hands. Like I can't rinse the sink.
Why doesn't the water work?
The pipes froze.
Oh.
So I call up my brother-in-law, Kyle, my brother-in-law. And I'm like, this is a situation. What do I do? Long story short, we ended up having somebody a pipe person come and they fix our pipes, and so I
I
just
am
put
so
basically
stressed.
caution tape on the door and was just like, "Do not enter. Let Abby take care
And
of
you're
this."
it was just
And this is an office full of women, which
bobbing.
is so nice, and, you can be candid, whatever, but I had to tell Devin, like, "Devin, this is the situation.
I feel like has
We
there
need to
been one
get
other
someone here
time that you
now."
had to out yourself with going to the bathroom there with
No,
him?
that was at my last office.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway,
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, that is so stressful.
it was so stressful.
That just I can't with the I hate when you're just like, do I do this or that? And it's like you have so little time to
So little time. I had so much to do too that morning, and meanwhile, my hair's up in a bun, I'm sweating, it's 6 AM at this point, just sweating over the toilet. You guys, it was awful.
Okay, that just made me think of something that was in my notes that I wanted to chat about. I'll be quick, but there was this podcast. It was this morning that I was listening to that one. And they were doing anonymous calls for delivery drivers. You call in, you have like a terrible delivery driver experience. This girl was a delivery for a florist. Okay, so it's for a funeral,
Okay.
and she shows up. She's like, I was like, am I at a tailgate? Like this is a big Greek family. Like I feel like this is not a
Mm.
funeral. Pulls in. Oh my gosh, hi, thank you so much for coming. The service will be in there. Just bring the flowers in, and then grab a plate. Like, thank you so much. She was like, clearly this was like a celebration of life. So she goes in, brings the flowers, and she's like, one of the arrangements. And I walk in, and she's like, and the casket was in there, and she's like, I've never seen a dead body.
I haven't either.
And this casket was open, and she's like, it's just me and this guy in there.
Oh.
She's like, his hair was jet black, so I felt like they like dyed his hair black. And it was Dak Shepard's podcast, and he was like, oh yeah, one time I went to a funeral, and my friend had a blonde mustache, and it was open casket, and they had dyed his mustache brown.
Oh,
Like what?
that is not
It
okay.
doesn't look like them. She's like, he was wearing so much makeup. Anyway, so she puts these flowers around, and there was one arrangement that had to go up higher, and for whatever reason, it got knocked over.
Oh no.
Over into the casket. Little flowers are falling off onto this man.
Oh my gosh.
Dead body.
That she doesn't know either.
Doesn't know. First time seeing a dead body. And there's all these people celebrating out there. She's like, I started looking around like, is someone coming? Like, I don't know. And she's like, I still had more flowers to go get. And so they were like, well, what'd you do? Did you try to fix it before you went and got your flowers? She's like, no, I had to think. So I like got the other flowers and I came back in. And she's like, and then I remembered I had these terry like cloths in the microfiber towels in the car. So she brings them in. And she's like, I start wiping the flowers off, but she's like, some water had spilt.
Oh my god.
Some water had spilt. And so she's like, I just start dabbing him,
Oh my gosh.
getting the water. And then people start to come in. And she's like, I was so frantic. She's like, I shoved the rag under his arm. I shoved the rag under his arm. And she's like, and I just got out of there. She's like, they probably thought I looked so suspicious. They thought I looked so weird. Why was it even hovering over him?
So this man was buried with the microfiber
Yeah.
towel.
Yeah. I mean,
oh my gosh.
yeah.
That is crazy.
My heart's racing at the thought.
Me too.
But it's like those situations where you're like, this can't be happening.
Complete
This can't be happening.
panic.
This can't be happening.
That is chaos. In
I would love to
situations
do a
of,
submission episode where it's like, this can't be happening stories.
in situations of chaos, how do you react? Like, what is your demeanor?
Depends if I'm in front of people or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think I go a little like, I need to act. I just need to do.
I'm the
I just
same
need
way.
to do.
I'm the same way. I feel like I'm pretty good about like pulling it
Yeah.
together, and I'm like really composed.
Yeah, I was
Uh-huh.
wanting to say the word stoic, but that's not the right word. But I
Mhm.
just feel like I'm like, okay,
I'm the same,
yeah.
which is a blessing because knowing me, I feel like I could see myself just like panicking.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm pretty good about.
Yeah.
I think Erin has rubbed off on me a little bit in that way. She's really good at that too.
Mhm.
As much as like, love you, Ewan. As much as, she can worry sometimes, I feel like if there's a situation, like she will dial it in,
Yeah.
get it done. and think about solutions pretty
Logic.
quick.
Yeah.
Logic. Yeah. I love that about her.
She's great at that.
Mhm.
Oh, what a nightmare.
That is so scary. I kinda feel like I'm jumping a little all over the place, but that's okay. I'm just so excited. There's just so much to share with you guys. But I wanna share a little bit what happened last week. We did attempt to have
Oh.
an episode out, honestly. I'm just gonna be transparent. Um, so we sat down, we're gonna press record. We did. And we were just doing our intro, our little chit chat, and Bailey definitely reads me and was just like, "What's going on?" And I looked at her and like, "Can't do this." I start
Literally
crying.
light scare action. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
I just felt like there was such a weight and a heavy thing on my heart where that like I could not focus on what we were talking about. And we were talking about Easter and I was like, the Lord deserves all of the glory in this episode. He deserves all of my energy. This needs to be a well said episode. And so we just ended up cutting it and
Mhm.
taking a step back. It ended up being beautiful. We just had a really good heart to heart that we needed to be having. And I'm just so thankful we can do that in our relationship.
Mhm. I just caught my hand. Like, yeah, I am too.
We needed that.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like that, if anything, is just going to make this episode and the next episode and just the podcast in general so much better. So
Yeah,
I'm thankful for that.
I am too. I mean, I think that our mission always has and will be to be authentic and be transparent. And if we're not like on a good, like I had just come back and I felt like we hadn't even like, hi, how are you? What's going on?
Mhm.
Like, sure, we had talked about the trip and stuff, but I feel
Yeah.
like we weren't like aligned,
Right.
if that makes sense.
No, it totally does make sense. I felt the same way too. And it's like I'm not doing our listeners or myself, the podcast, justice if I'm going to hop on here and act like everything's okay.
Yeah.
Like that's just not what our podcast is about. And I just wasn't feeling okay. And so I just
Mm-hmm.
needed, I'm proud because, in the beginning of the year, we said this in the post too, like boundaries are really important for us and
Mm-hmm.
sticking to those was something that like I'm holding myself to this year. I want to be better about I think the past couple years I've been better about setting boundaries, but following through with those
Mm-hmm.
boundaries in all circumstances is somewhere I struggle and I think that's a normal thing. But yeah, this year I really wanted to dial that in and I think that was a really good example of doing that for the
Mm-hmm.
both of us.
Yeah,
So, yeah, proud of that.
for sure.
So on this episode, you guys, Bailey last week, which was so much fun, she did the
Last
last week.
week.
Last episode, she did the deep dive of the Disney adults, which we had so many fun conversations that followed
Oh
that.
my, wait, I have to,
Okay.
Debbie, I have a
Oh,
client.
Debbie.
Debbie.
I love you, Debbie.
And Debbie is a Disney fan. Stan.
Big. She's a Disney adult, aren't you, Debs?
Wait, your coworker.
Mary?
Mary. I was like, do
Yeah.
they have the same name? I
Oh.
got confused for a sec. But yeah, Debbie's daughter, family, they're all very into Disney. But anyway, she came for her appointment that after she had heard that episode. And I'm sitting in the break room and my coworker goes, oh, your client, Debbie's here. And she's like, she's wearing Mickey Mouse ears. And I was like, no, she's not. And she goes, yeah, she is. I go, no, she's not. Yeah, she is. No, she's not. Bailey, yes. And not only is she wearing ears, she has an extra set in her hands. And I'm like, no, she's not. And I go out there. I was like,
No,
Debbie.
didn't she have two? She
Yes.
brought one for each of us.
Yeah. Well,
Which
she
you
didn't
have
give
yet to give them.
She didn't give them to me.
okay.
They weren't a gift.
They were for her
She
closet.
let me pick
for her.
which one I could wear in the photo we had to take together.
I love how she brought like a floating one for me.
I know,
That
literally.
is so cute.
And she's like, we have to send a picture to Abigail.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah,
Thank
she
you,
was so
Debbie.
funny. And she's like, I'm wearing this Disney shirt. And she's like, before I left the house, I was like, Jerry, do you think this is funny? Bailey will think this is funny. And he's like, And she was like, I'm doing it anyway.
I love that.
She's
Debbie, I
so
feel like
funny.
you are the definition of she means well. Like you are so authentically you. Keep doing that. Please keep embarrassing Bailey. I love that.
Oh my word. And she told me, so I did her hair and then she texts me and she's like, I'm just a hypochondriac about my blonde and blah, blah, blah. And what if we like toned it or like, I feel like this part is a little warm, whatever, which I'm like, it's not my head that's walking around.
Yeah.
If I ever have a client that's like, there's this one thing, like, please
Yeah.
message me, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I actually saw her again this last week and she was like, okay, so I rated the girl's room, her granddaughter's room at her house, and she's like, I was trying to find we have like a purple and a green wig, and I was gonna come in the green wig and be like,
Oh,
I know I'm crazy about my hair, like it's just me, I'm here again.
she's funny.
And she's like, I couldn't find the wig, but
she's fun.
yeah, she's hilarious.
I hope I still have that energy when, you know, when I'm her age. That's amazing.
She's
I love
hilarious.
that.
So
Love you,
Debbie,
Debbie.
see you, love you. Don't
Okay.
make me do it again.
I have a quick story about Disney's adults episode. Like I
Ugh.
said, I had so many fun conversations after that
Stressful.
episode came out.
Stressful.
Too. Talk about stressful, dude. So I have a new friend in my life, and he invited me over to like a big like family friends like dinner, whatever. It was pretty casual. And there I met his brother, and his brother was talking to me about the podcast.
Oh
And
no.
he was like, yeah, like I listened or I watched or I saw, or maybe I brought it up. Like our latest episode was like Disney adults because he was asking me like what the podcast was about. He totally misinterpreted me and was like thinking that that's who I am.
Oh no.
So I had to like really set the record straight. So he's like, you're telling me like you have a Disney tattoo, you have a bumper sticker. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. And he's like, oh, so like you hate Disney. I'm like, no,
No.
that's not what I'm saying. Just listen to the
Oh my
episode. Oh, hear my heart in this, please.
Oh my
I love
gosh.
Disney. I love Disney people.
Like whatever. I wish I never did it. Like I don't care. I don't
No,
literally
I loved it.
I don't care that much about Disney, okay, people?
And I love that it's making us squirm like this.
I know,
You
and
know?
it's like such an innocent topic, but
It
oh my!
is.
And literally, as soon as we stopped recording, I think about everybody I know
I
who went to
know.
Disney.
It's like
is at
everybody went to Disney after that episode.
Everybody, and
I
I'm like,
know.
okay. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
Abigail.
Come on.
I feel like I start to say Abby, and I'm like, yeah, Gail.
Oh my gosh. I've had a couple patients recently that listen to the podcast, and I don't know if I told you this, but Dr. Xanders started calling me Abigail now at work in front
I'm
of
ruining
patients.
so many things.
So many things. And he called me Abigail in front of this patient, and he's always called me Abby in front of patients. So he just randomly started calling me Abigail. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. I don't care. And this patient who listens to the podcast, she was like, I almost thought you were going to call her Abby. And I'm
Oh.
like, it's fine. Call me Joe at this point. I don't care.
And now it's just I've confused. No, wait. I have confused.
You've confused me. What is my name? Oh my gosh. And then somebody at church came up to me last week and was like, hey, Bibbs. I was like, well, sure. Honestly, call me Bibbs.
Call me Joe.
Joe. That works too. Bob, Robert, I don't care. Okay, moving on. So, a little surprise for you. I had a responsibility. And it was my turn to do a deep dive, which I have a deep dive for you.
Okay.
Not today.
Oh, what?
Today's, and it was between these two topics.
Okay.
And the topic that we're going to be discussing today, I want it to be a more you
Two
and
people.
I. Yes.
Okay.
Because this is something I feel like you and I can easily talk about.
Okay.
And also my
Oh
intentions.
my gosh, so you've prepped and I can't?
Yes. But no.
Okay.
I know you so well. I know that
Okay.
this is easy.
Okay.
I feel like our best episodes are ones that we don't think too hard about. You
When
know?
we were having our little heart to heart, Abby's like, honestly, hit record.
I was. As I like wiped a tear, I'm like, press record, Bailey. This is good. So with that being said, I wanted to talk about and discuss, and this is really making a shift from our intro, our chit chat, because it's a little bit more serious,
Oh.
which you probably could have guessed. I feel like on the podcast, I bring a little bit more seriousness and you bring the goofy, which I absolutely love. We need both of them, right? So for this discussion, I want to talk about behavioral, disciplinary growing up
Oh.
and kind of the effects that has.
Whoa.
I want to
okay.
look at the biblical view on it. I want to look at the worldly view on it. And just like hear your perspective and my perspective And I want this episode to be something that, when we are in that season of life, when we're having kids.
Oh, I'm so down for
Yeah,
this.
isn't
Okay.
this cool?
Yeah.
So you and I, although we both grew up under, the same morals, our parents, leading, with Christ, that's very similar. But I do think that there's quite a difference in the way that we were disciplined.
Okay, yeah.
Um, Before we get really into it, let me open up my journal here. I've taken some diligent notes and just some things that I really want to mention before getting going. Couple disclaimers. I do not want any of what I'm saying to be twisted and taken as in it's okay to abuse authority in a household. Like, I do not
Mhm.
want my views to come across as like, I think it's okay to hurt your child in any
Mm,
way. So please do not twist my words. I'm just going to start by saying I am for like spanking. I am for um, authority in the household. I think it's really good to instill a healthy fear of your parents. My parents did a really good job of that growing up. They did a really good job in some areas I don't agree with, and we'll discuss that further. Also, I'm not a mom,
mhm.
and that's why I'm excited to record this episode and be able to look back. So, if you're a mom listening to this podcast, which I know a lot of our listeners are, I'd love to hear from you, a text on any of the points that we talk about today, and maybe something that you've walked through, and I'd love to learn.
I think it's cool to have, a conversation about something that you, can only, like, imagine how you respond, because I think we live in a day and age where it's like, don't speak on anything unless you have all the information, and I
Mhm.
think we really miss this area for learning and for grace, honestly, for
Mhm.
just, like, having conversations in the unknown,
Mm.
and, like, an analogy in our heart to heart, we were talking about letting people in on
Mhm.
the process,
Mhm.
and I said the analogy of, like, about baking a cake, like, you
Mhm.
wanna just present this baked cake, done, decorated,
Mhm.
clean, but there's so much, like, learning that happens when you bake the cake,
Yeah.
and I feel like that kind of aligns with this too, so, like, don't crucify us if we're saying something that you disagree with, or you're like, "Wait till you're a mom." Like, I get
Right.
it. We're gonna be parents
Yeah.
someday, Lord willing,
Yeah.
and I can't wait for that, but it will be interesting and fun to listen to, like,
But maybe cringy too.
oh, probably super cringy.
Probably. As some
But
of
I
our
think
episodes already are to me.
it's just oh, I know. Whenever someone's like, "Oh, well, listen to the podcast," I'm like, jump in at, like, 9,
Yeah.
10,
Yeah.
8. I don't know how many
20.
episodes do we have. Yeah, literally.
Oh my gosh.
But I think that there's no especially publicly, people don't have conversations in the, "I'm not really sure about that," or, "I
Mhm.
don't know."
Mhm.
What is your perspective? Even if it's not, I have the solid answer that I think I would have as a
Right.
parent. You know what I'm trying to say?
Totally. I totally get what you're saying. Um, I never take for granted where I come from and the blessing that I had growing up with the family that I had. We both were very blessed. We are very lucky to have the parents that we do. Um, both of our parents, your dad, my dad, our moms, they didn't have the best upbringing. It was
Mhm.
really rough.
Very broken homes.
Very broken homes, and so I just give them so much credit for the way that they did parent and the way that they did instill a healthy fear of authority in us.
Mhm.
So if you came from a broken home or this authority was abused in any way, I'm so sorry. And I hope that you know that moving forward, if you're not yet a mom or you're just turned off to being a mom because of the way that you grew up, God transforms, and that doesn't have to be your story either. So I just want to say that too.
I can't remember if I've said this on the podcast, maybe I have, but it goes along with what you're saying right now, and I remember my dad saying, like, God, I don't know how to be a dad. I didn't have a
Mhm.
great example of a dad.
Yeah.
But he so clearly heard from the Lord, like, I will put the heart of a father in you. And I don't remember I've said
Mm.
that on here before,
I don't think so.
but I think that's so powerful how, like, God literally can put the heart of, like, a father or a mother, even if that's not you don't know. Cause
Mhm.
there's so many people that's like, well, I didn't have a dad. So it's dismissive for all this bad
Mhm.
behavior or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
daddy issues. Like,
Mm.
it's just a thing that people, "Oh, that's why they're messed up." But it's like, at some point, you have to take accountability for
Everybody has a
how you
choice.
show up. Yeah.
Everybody has a choice. Um, with that to say, it does play a really big part, like, psychology-wise, like,
Yeah.
on someone's brain, and I learned that through, like, preparing for this episode. There was, the National Survey of Americans, part 5. It's titled, Teens, Parents, and this was written by the Columbia University in 1999. Um, it has some really heartbreaking statistics in it, and it really goes into, like, what it looks like having an absent father in your life and
Mm.
how that transforms or how that hurts the brain and
Mhm.
just growth as a kid.
My sorry.
No.
I feel like I've heard my dad say before, like, I think that the family unit is the singular most important, like, unit that God has created,
Mm,
and that's, like, the number one way that the enemy, like, literally tries to knock us at our knees,
totally,
you know?
dude. I mean, think about it, like, generational curses are a thing, right?
Uh-huh.
I believe that they're a thing, and if you're able to focus on your family building a firm foundation in Christ versus a broken home, like, it's going to make such a difference for generations to come,
Right.
and so I feel like that's gonna be a really big goal of mine when I'm a parent of, like, this is how we live our lives. We love the Lord, we love other people, and I hope that my kids then can take that on with them,
Mhm.
and I'm so blessed because I do feel like that's my parents instilled that in me, and I definitely I'm looking forward to sharing that in future generations as well.
Totally. Yeah.
Um, but in that article that I was reading, this is a really sad statistic. Let me see, I wrote it here. So it said kids without a father figure in the household have 70% higher chance of drinking and drug use from a young age.
Oh, wow.
70% is huge. Just not having a father there. I think about like my dad, he really didn't have a father in his life. Um And he was the oldest of 4, and so his mom had to take on both of those roles,
Mhm.
and I just can't believe how well that my dad turned out.
Mhm.
Not to say my childhood was perfect by any means, and I wanna touch on that a little bit here soon. But gosh, I God's grace is so good.
Mhm.
Um, also that article talked about how we think I think before reading this really, I put it in perspective, the first 6 and 7 years of your childhood are, like, the most crucial and the most, what is the word I'm
Transformative,
yeah,
or
transformative,
impactful.
impactful times that you're going to have with your kids where you can build those foundations in them. It's not the whole 18 years,
Mhm.
because at that age, they start, um, recognizing that they have a choice and they're starting to take accountability. So if you can instill, I think, within those first 6, 7 years, that's where the bread and butter is.
I
Like,
mean, like,
that's not
down
much time.
no, but it's crazy, like, you think about, like, the timeline therapy I shared and things,
Mhm.
deposits that happen in your life. You don't I mean, my earliest memory is, like, probably, like, tail end of 3, 4 maybe,
Mhm.
probably, where it's like, "Oh, I kinda remember that." Like, that's
Mhm.
so young,
Yeah.
and when traumatic things happen, a lot of times things blocked, you know? And so, say your earliest memory is, like, 6, 7 years old, I mean, that's like a you're 6, 7 years isn't nothing, that's like you were living, breathing on this
Mhm.
earth, and things happened to you, and your surroundings, and things you heard and saw that you don't
Mhm.
remember, they are woven into literally your DNA. Like, I heard on the Skinny Confidential, they had this specialist on, and they were talking about how you respond to stressful situations and
Mhm.
adversity, and this doctor was saying, from the moment you're born, if you were born and there's, like, nothing, like, everything's quote, unquote, "fine, perfect, you're
Mhm.
breathing, you're healthy," versus a kid that comes out with the umbilical cord wrapped around its neck, and it's not breathing at first, and it's literally experiencing trauma from the first 5 minutes of its life here on earth, that can hardwire them to be more
Wow.
of an anxious person because their first 5 minutes was like, "I don't know if I'm
Fight
gonna
or
live."
flight.
Yes.
Wow.
Like, so if you think about that moment being impactful, imagine 6 or 7 years of moments being
Mm.
impactful. So I
Mhm.
totally agree.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Within those, like, 6 to 7 years, I hope to like, the goal would be to plant some deep roots
Mhm.
into your kids because then at that age, it's like I said, they start, picking up accountability and they can acknowledge, like, their own sin, so I'm hoping then they'll start watering those roots, right?
Mhm.
And that's where the fruit's gonna come in their life. I just that's such a big responsibility.
I know.
I ever since I was little, like, I have always looked forward to becoming a mom. There's been so many times, like, in my career where people have been like, "You should be a dentist, like, go to school, like, be a dentist, you'd be so good at it, whatever."
Mm.
And, like, yeah, it's been intriguing to me at times, but I'm like, "I wanna be a mom."
Yeah. And not
And
that
I
you
know
couldn't be
yes,
both.
I know you can do
Mhm.
both, but, like, I want to be home with my kids when they're young. I want to really just, like, uproot them,
Mhm.
and create a home for them, and yeah, I really look forward to that,
Uh-huh.
for sure.
Oh, I totally agree. Like, work backwards because if you went to school, it's like, "Okay, now I'm gonna get into school forever," and then
Mhm.
you just do the math. Yeah.
Right, and it takes time, like, building your patience,
Practice.
your
Yeah.
practice, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so more so from a biblical standpoint, in James 1:26, 26, it talks about what the tongue can do and the impact that it has. I feel like a perception the world has to offer is you were born good and it's your environment that makes you bad, which that can't be further from what the word says, right? We were born into sin and it's because of God's grace that we're forgiven and redeemed, right? So, with that being said, I want to know like and I want our listeners to know like what did your household look like for you because you agreed with me earlier that like you two are very thankful for the healthy fear of authority that your parents instilled in you kids. So alongside of that comes with discipline. So how were you disciplined as a kid? Were you spanked? Were you grounded? Did you get time out? What did that look
Mm.
like?
Well, I'll start by saying I think it looked really different from kid to kid.
Mhm.
So, like, my brother is the oldest, my sister's in the middle, I'm the youngest, whatever. And I think you just, I'm sure, learn a lot with your first kid.
I'm sure.
And by the time you get to the third, I think you're a more well-rounded parent.
Mhm.
And so I think that my parents would say choices they made with my brother, by the time it got to me, it's like, you know what? Actually, maybe we can pull off the gas on that.
Mm.
And it's not about how, I don't know. And also personalities being really different. Like my parents
Mhm.
used to say, like, my brother was a little bit was definitely more like strong-willed, and same with my sister about what they thought and
Mhm.
why they did what they did,
Right.
where my parents would this is how it would look. If we got in trouble, "Bailey, go to your room." I feel like I would hear the phrase like, "You deliberately disobeyed me."
Oh, that gives me chills. That seriously just gave me chills.
Deliberately
Oh.
disobeyed me.
Oh, yeah. I can see my dad's eyebrows
I
so
know.
high.
Your dad's eyebrows were above his head.
It was like a joke, my friends too. Like, everybody knows anytime my dad got mad when I was little, I can't really raise my eyebrows, praise Jesus. But anyway.
Well, I'll do it. His eyebrows were high. But yeah, I remember hearing that like they would make it clear of like separating us from whatever I just did and then go to your room. I'll be there to talk to you in a minute. That
Think
was
about your actions.
that was the hardest, longest couple minutes of my life.
I was so scared in those moments.
And I think by the time my parents got there, and you know, all of this goes with age appropriate conversation,
Totally.
discipline, like
Yeah.
let's be honest. But my parents would say like, "Bailey, we could look at you." And that was enough. Like I did get spanked. I totally did get spanked.
What did you get spanked with?
Their hand.
Oh, wow.
We did have a wooden spoon once, then we when they were
You hear
gone,
that, mom and dad?
when they were gone, we gave it to the dog to chew on. We had a dog named Sammy that was like kind of a bigger dog for a minute. And I remember the spoon broke and then yeah, but I think they used their hand most of the
Chains were
time.
broken that day.
Yeah, literally. Thanks, Sammy. Um, but yeah, I think my parents spanked my siblings a lot more than me.
Okay.
And I think most of that is because of who we are
Mhm.
and we're wired really differently.
Totally.
I remember this one time specifically. I think Mikey and I must have gotten in trouble together doing something because we got separated and we shared a room. So my mom sent me to her room and Mikey got sent to our room. And I remember it's only funny because my mom, they both were disciplinaries, but my dad was definitely like making me
Laid
nervous.
the rules.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and my mom, bless her heart, would try to be like, I
Mean.
was disciplinary too. And I remember
Oh.
her in that moment. I remember her spanking me, and I remember she like spanked me, and I think we made eye contact, and I was like, "Ow!" Like that
Oh.
didn't hurt at all.
Did she
And she's
spank
like,
you again?
"You wait till your dad gets home."
Oh.
That was even worse. But what I will say about like spanking and discipline and all of that, like I said, age appropriate for sure, but they always like the goal of disciplining was always about the heart,
Mhm.
and we would always have a conversation, and I got so worked up as a kid. Like seriously, you could look at me cross-eyed and I would be like I'm so
Yeah.
hungry.
Yeah.
Like I would get so worked up. I used to pray that God would make me less sensitive.
Same.
And I hated that. But my parents, they would always come to our room and they would always ask us like, why do you think we sent you here? What
Mhm.
what what do you think I'm about to say? And so they would
Mhm.
give us this opportunity to share like, what I think I did wrong and how I
Mhm.
deliberately disobeyed.
Ah.
And yeah, so I think that was important to always have that conversation. And then by the end of it, we knew that there was consequences for our
Mhm.
actions. My
Mhm.
parents were not grounders at all. I don't think I ever got grounded.
Mm.
They were not. I would maybe get my phone taken away. I guess
Okay.
that's like a form of grounding. But if it was something that we were being spanked over, it was always we'd have that conversation and we would almost like have this like reconciliation moment. At least this is
Mhm.
what I feel like it went for me. Maybe my brother and sister, they're a little bit more like, I'm still mad about that.
Well, I think you're so right. It's different for each kid. I
Yeah.
mean, each kid is wired differently. And I think the way that, like I think about my sister Haley was disciplined versus me, it is different because we were so different growing up.
Yeah. But I feel like we would almost have this moment of like talking about why that happened and like how that could have been scary as a parent, or they were trying to keep me safe of this and that and why I did whatever. And then I almost feel like it would be like, okay, this deep breath of like, okay, now we're good. And then it would be like, okay, turn around, turn
Mhm.
over.
Right, right.
And that came after we had had that like conversation,
Mhm.
like a heart to heart of why. And it was almost like, okay, I know.
So you guys would talk about it before getting spanked.
Yeah.
Why am I spanking you, Bailey?
Yeah.
They would spank you, and then would they have you stay in your room? What did that look like
Then I feel like I would probably be very emotional and worked up and just and they would say, "Okay, you can come out when you're
when you're
ready."
ready? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I like that they would come in and talk with us first. It was never like my dad coming at me swinging. That
Mhm,
never
mhm,
chasing me
mhm.
down.
No, no.
Never,
Yeah,
never.
right.
Nothing like that.
I feel like as soon as from someone that's not a parent, but I think this is pretty well said. Like if you are disciplining out of anger, your heart's in the wrong place.
Mhm.
My parents, very similar to you, if I did something wrong, you need to go to your room and think about your actions,
Mhm.
and I'll be in there in a few minutes
Yeah.
and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But there
Because that
are
was a good way to
a
like
good
set
reflection.
aside this moment to
Mhm.
think.
Right. And then another scary term they would say, there will be consequences for your actions. You deliberately disobeyed me, Abigail. You need to go to your room, sit on your bed, and think about what you've done.
And stuff your undies with all your stuffed animals to soften the blow. Did you ever do that?
No, but I
I've
doubled
tried.
up on my pull ups. I'm not kidding. So I peed the bed for a little too long. And I remember
forgot about that.
I remember putting on like 2 pull-ups, and I like this is so weird. But I remember like spanking myself to see like will they hear it? Like will they hear that it's not as bad as a blow?
Like,
I don't remember which one of my siblings it was. Maybe it was me. I don't know. But I remember one of my parents spanking them, and I think it was Haley. And Haley goes, "That didn't hurt." And my mom's like, "Thank you for being honest." Whack!
oh.
Poor thing. Haley was the sweetest.
Oh.
Dude, Haley was such a good kid.
Yeah.
To this day, she'll tell you she's weird too, but she like literally could not lie growing up, which what a blessing. She would say that she would black out. She would lose vision.
I believe it.
I believe it too.
If
For
I've
those of you
said,
that know Haley,
oh, totally.
I'm sure you believe it.
If I've said something really mean that I know is gonna hurt, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's happened to me, but I believe that probably happens to Haley all the time.
Yeah.
Would.
So yeah, I got spanked too growing up. I got the wooden spoon, got the belt from dad.
Oh wow.
But then again, I mean, I think the belt, it definitely stung worse because it was like leather. Like, it's not like the metal was ever involved in the spank.
That's something that I think I would, when I become a parent, like to research. Like I remember my parents reading this like thing with Bible study, like growing kids God's way. Like I wonder, as a parent, I don't know, like that's just as interesting. Uh, Everyone has to make a choice if they're going to discipline,
right,
and then using
right.
or using an object.
Right. Sometimes my mom would have us go to the room and then wait till my dad got home to spank us and things. I am not looking, as much as I do agree with spanking, I'm not looking forward to doing that. That's going to be really hard. But yeah, so my mom sometimes would just say, when your dad gets home, like, I'm going to talk with him and then we will both be in to talk with you. And then one of them would spank me. I also got grounded. I was a pretty decent kid. I mean, I definitely did not make good decisions in high school. Being the youngest of four, by the time I think I was 14 or 15 when my sister Hannah got pregnant with her first baby. And so I feel like as soon as that happened, a lot of my parents' attention went to that, as any parent's attention would, and just being there for my sister to support her the best way that they could. So I kind of took it.
At home, right?
No, she wasn't. She was living with her boyfriend at the time. But I think I was like in a lost place at the time, and so I took advantage of the lack of attention I felt. It went from, being on me to then that situation, which I put myself in their shoes, and I think I probably would be the same too. But I started just like doing kind of whatever I wanted. I mean, there were still like rules for me, but also, my parents were getting older. So I felt like it was easy for me just to kind of do what I wanted, as long as I like followed the rules of like being home at this time. I mean, they weren't super strict. And I know my sister Hannah is probably just like so mad listening to this, because the first kid, Hannah, like she had so many strict rules to follow, and it was really lax for me.
Yeah, I feel like I have the same exact experience.
Yeah. Like I said, I wasn't the worst kid, but I wasn't the best kid. And I would say I was a good combo of all of my siblings and how they were, because I made bad decisions, but I was just like brutally honest about them. And I think that was really hard for my parents. Like, how do you discipline? How do you go about that? That would be hard to parent me, honestly, because I remember like when I smoked weed for the first time, I literally made like a brochure and I gave it to my mom, and I'm like, this is what weed is. This is why it's not bad. And this is why you would rather me smoke weed than drink, Mom. What are you supposed to do with a kid like that? Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I did. The nerve.
The nerve.
So I was just like, I would make bad decisions.
Oh my gosh, I would be quaking in my boots.
I would make bad decisions, but I would tell them. So in my head, I'm like, it's fine. My parents know.
I'm not lying to them.
Exactly.
My sister was more like you.
Yeah.
My sister would be in trouble, and my dad would be like, come on, like as a teenager, come downstairs, let's talk about it. She'd be like, when Mom gets home.
Oh, whoa.
I don't have to repeat myself.
Oh, yeah. I feel like that was kind of like me too.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a really hard time. Like, I am pretty strong-willed, and as a kid, I had a really hard time learning how to insert my questions in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Because I am, till this day, like I want to know why. And I didn't know how to ask why in a respectful way as a kid growing up. And especially for my dad, as soon as he felt disrespected, like I was done. Yeah. And by that meaning, like, as soon as dad felt disrespected, like I was either grounded, again, my parents did such a good job of instilling that authority, the fear of their authority in us kids. But, you know,
like I feel like yes, fear of authority, but it's like respect in the utmost like
mm-hmm,
serious way.
totally.
Like not like you think about an abused animal, how they
Mm-hmm.
like
Coward.
not in that
No, no,
way.
no,
It's
no.
like a healthy fear in the sense of like such utter
Mm-hmm.
respect. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want people to twist what you're saying and
Yeah,
feel like you were like
totally.
scared of your parents.
No, 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 no. But with that being said, I did go through, all my siblings would agree. My dad would agree too. I went through, you know, quite a few years of being a little bit scared of my dad, not because he ever, would hit us or anything like that. I'm so thankful for that. But, as soon as he felt disrespected, like sometimes he would kind of be written off. And, I feel comfortable talking about this. I know my dad listened to my podcast. Love you, Dad. And we've had so many healing conversations about this. And there's things that he wishes that he could go back and change. It is what it is. And it's been a beautiful conversation for us to have as adults with him. But he was scary, dude. Like I was really scared to go home if I knew that like I messed up. And because of that fear, unhealthy fear that he gave us kids, like I think all of us kids would just end up going to my mom because we knew that my mom she understood like the fear that we had for my dad because she experienced something similar with her dad growing up with her
And she's
stepdad.
also much more approachable over it.
Yeah. And
Or like the
she
first, because you know your dad's gonna be a part of this discussion, but like if I
right.
go to mom first, it like she can help be the liaison a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly. Or I just felt because my dad, like I said, as soon as he was disrespected, that's all that was on his mind. Like it didn't matter what we had to say or the case that we had to state. It's like he was disrespected. You're wrong. Nothing you have to say will change my mind. Off with you. Which I think it then created some conflict between my parents, as I'm sure it would if I put myself in my dad's shoes or my mom's shoes. Like my dad, I'm sure, felt really disrespected the fact that all of us kids would just go to her thinking, that we could get off easier. I don't know what it was. But that would be really challenging. I feel like being in my dad's shoes, knowing that my kids, like, they're scared of me. There was one point in high school where I don't remember what the thing was. I think bottom line, I just disrespected my dad in a conversation because I wanted to know the whys. It came across just argumentative, smart ass. And like my dad used to always say, like, you're going to become a lawyer one day. Like he's to this day will say like conversations with you growing up were really hard because like I just would ask really big questions that a lot of the times he had to like really think,
Which is good.
which is good.
You should have an answer.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
God, please be with me. I pray that my kids are like you and soft and peacemaking. So anyway, there was like a phase where, I disrespected my dad and he didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks. And that was super hurtful. Like I remember
How old were you?
I was like around probably 16, 17. And I didn't realize at the time the effect that that would have on me and like in my adulthood, but I definitely like had to take some time to like heal from that because like as much as I did make wrong decisions, like in high school, especially, I was a good kid. Like I got good grades. I played sports. I did great in sports. And I thought, because of my grades and because, I got a job when I was 15, like I can show my parents like through my performance, like I'm worthy of like them loving me. And so when I was still doing all that stuff and then my dad chose to ignore me and not show me love, like that destroyed me.
Well, especially for circling back to love languages, if you feel value and love through words,
Yeah,
that would really, really knock you at the knees.
totally. I think at the time my heart just became hard. I knew that the way that he was treating me was not right. But it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized it would have a bigger effect on me than just like, yeah, my dad's not talking to me. Like it sucks. But like now looking back, I'm like, that kind of shaped it's pretty formative. Like when it comes to relationships in my life and trauma. Yeah, a little bit.
And it's also something I can say that because it significantly impacted you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what trauma is.
Mm-hmm.
And you've worked through that. There's been so
Totally.
much healing and
Right.
conversations about that.
Right.
So,
So now it's like if somebody, I mean, as small as me getting home from work and, hey, Bailey, how was your day? And like I don't get much from you, automatically I feel like my head goes to like, did I do something wrong? Like, why isn't she talking to me? Like, what did I do? Which it's nothing. You're just busy, you know? So I'm super quick to think like I did something wrong. But you know, I'm aware of it, and there's a lot of healing that has like came from that. And I'm super grateful for, you know, the overall, I grew up in a really great household. And my dad is so soft and tender now. I'd love to talk further with him about that too. Um, my sister and I were recently talking about this over FaceTime, and Haley was like, dude, I just feel like I kind of blacked out some of our childhood. I think a lot more was going on than we realized. And as adults thinking about our childhood, um, it's hard to put things together. Like it's really spotty for me. I would love to do like the child timeline,
oh, the timeline.
the timeline therapy, and just kind of dive into that. It's really crazy.
Yeah, the brain is so crazy. Something
Mm-hmm.
about parenting and discipline and things that I think I don't know, I just want to discuss too. And I have not dove into this because I'm not a parent, and but it's interesting to me like as time goes on and we learn about the brain impact and how to effectively communicate and all of these things. I think how I was disciplined and parented and knowing what I know now about communication, I think I for sure am not gonna say like, oh, I'm never gonna spank my kids, because I think that it's a heart issue, and there sometimes that's how you get to the heart with this discipline. But also like the whole, I don't know if it's a fad or just the type of parenting with gentle parenting. And so some people believe not in spanking their kids, and they think, and I think there's for me the perfect balance is right in the middle, where it's like I don't want to just say like you you disobeyed me, go to your room, and yes, I want to have a conversation about that. But I think some people can take the disciplinary route, go to your room, you got spanked because you did this, and that's it. And then the gentle parenting route, where it's like you're only talking about it. I don't know. So anyway, what I'm saying is like I've seen some parents on TikTok, and I'm thinking about like the age range of like 2 to 4, like pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I was really spanked at that age. Um, I'd have to ask, but I think there's so much power in like if a kid touches. No, that's not even a good example. Like I was gonna say, touch the stove and it's hot, and then they.
What about like a kid breaking something in the house, like versus like maybe a spank? Like, all right, you're gonna lose your privileges on playing on the computer, and instead, like, you're gonna take time to fix that thing.
Like I think that it's a very case by case, not only with the child but with the circumstance and what does it warrant a spank? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
there is room for like not every time you discipline your kids do they need a spank, but I think there's room for like what were you thinking there, and
Right.
like having that dialogue. And I
Mm.
think my parents did really well at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because spanking was always an option that could happen. It wasn't like you're getting spanked every
Every
single
time,
time. No,
no. And
I
I think
agree.
I got spanked so far less because my parents were getting better and better at like if the heart is the the thing we're trying to shift,
Uh-huh.
and a spank, maybe it's just because I'm Bailey and I'm wired the way that like I'm going to be more fearful over the physical impact, and
Right,
like that's
right.
not going to change my heart, it's just going to make me scared of
Yes.
you.
Mm.
And so I don't know, like I'm thinking about this one girl I follow on TikTok, and she has like a Montessori kitchen for her kids, and they like learn how to cut, and they learn how to like use like age appropriate little like tools and knives and whatever. And I think it's really cool how she's like, um, if something happens, it'll be like, I heard someone say once, like, you ask your child, did that hurt you or did that scare you? And like at the playground, say they fall and then like they get yelled at or something, and then they start crying, and it's like, did that hurt you or did that scare you? Because now you can know as a parent, oh, it scared you. You need to be comforted. I need to let you know that it's
Mhm.
okay. But if you step off of that thing, you're gonna get hurt or
Mhm.
whatever. You know
Mhm.
what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say? And I
yeah.
think that I don't want people to misunderstand. Like,
Bailey, I see exactly what you're saying.
yeah,
And also too, it's like if they're going to expect a spanking every single time, doesn't that just throw out the healthy fear
loses
inside?
its
It
potency.
does.
Yeah,
And instead I feel like it could easily become just like a bitterness too.
yeah,
And I would hate for somebody or for my kid to grow up with a bitter heart or lose heart
right.
because
Because
of that.
of this discipline. This
You're
is
totally
actually
right. It
very,
is all about like the heart behind it, both the parent and the kid.
yeah,
Like if my kid's heart has shifted, they see where they went wrong. They know how to do it better in the next time this happens, and they
yeah.
come with me with that instead of me like having to get that out of them. I think I mean, we'll see, Abby. Listen to this back when you have kiddos. But I feel like
We listen
I
back. We're like,
probably I probably wouldn't give them a spanking. I don't know. We'll have to see.
yeah, I don't know. It's so interesting. There is one memory that sticks out in my mind of my siblings. My brother did something to get spanked, and go to your room. I'll be there in a minute. That whole thing. And my sister, bless her, was like, just felt this tug on her heart, and she's like,
Oh.
"Dad, I wanna." My dad did. I feel like he was just lobbing these parenting things out, like, let's see if this works. And then that's what all parents do. But I remember it was the first time I heard the term appeal. I want to appeal. So my parents would give us the
You
discipline.
guys are in the
We
courtroom.
were. It was like,
Order.
give us the discipline, whether that's like you lose your phone or you blah, 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 or you're going to get a spanking. We had a moment to appeal. And we'd say, can I appeal? And you would give them your case of why I think I don't deserve a spanking or why I don't think this or that. And sometimes I would have no appeal because it's like, yeah, I did exactly what you said. Like, I should have my phone taken away.
Yeah, we never got that.
But I remember, which I think is good parenting, because it's like, let me hear your side. And then if there's justification and like I'm just coming down with the hammer, like, no, actually that's a very good point, Diane. You know?
Yeah.
And then at the end, I mean, my parents always had the final say, you know? But my sister appealed,
Did
and
the appeals ever work?
well, she appealed and asked if she could take she I don't know if she knocked on the door, and my dad was talking to my brother, but she said, Dad, I want to appeal on behalf of my brother. And Jesus,
She means
she
business.
does, which I'm like, Mikey, would you do this for me? She only did this one time. She ain't no dummy. But she appealed on the behalf of my brother, and she asked if she could take his spanking for him.
Wow.
And I'm sure my dad gave her the softest spanking ever.
I'm sure.
And he said, yeah, she said, Jesus took our sins, and I don't know, the Holy Spirit was working, moving through her. And she appealed for my brother, and she took his spanking.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that is so beautiful. And that obviously stuck to you. I'm sure Jansen, it stuck to him too. What an amazing heart posture to have. How old was she, you think?
I remember my brother definitely still had his own room, so I didn't. We switched rooms around when I was in middle school, so definitely elementary school. Definitely.
I will say, growing up, my family was not the family to be like, you get your phone taken away. We never did that. It was like one time, this is so embarrassing. Mom and Dad, let's talk about this. I was grounded from using the microwave. And that stung because that's what I did. Like, I made food in the microwave growing up, yeah. Grounded from the microwave.
That's kind of brutal.
I mean, it's not like I couldn't eat. I just lost my privileges of the microwave.
Better for ya.
One time I was grounded for a full month.
For the next place.
Oh, really?
I didn't have one for years, and it's much better. But you were grounded for
Yeah.
from
Um,
social?
I will say, like, growing up, the times where I did, like, lie and go behind my parents' back, like, being in the church and your parents known in the church, you got eyes on you. Definitely, like, at school, extracurricular activities, like, people just watch you, I feel like, differently. And any time that they would find out something I did behind their back, it was from someone in the church. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, I remember there's this one summer and I went to this party and lied to my parents about where I was going. And they found out from like another girl that I played volleyball with. She told her parents, the parents told my parents. And yeah, I was just like, you little rat. And it got me grounded for a month, dude, in the summer. It was so awful. It was like my summer going into my senior year, I think. That sucked because I was such a social person. I was always with people. People were always at my house, sleepovers, like that was just it. Everybody always came to my house. And so it's like not only was I grounded, but all my friends felt grounded too. Yeah.
I really don't feel like we got grounded. I'm seriously trying to think, and I don't even remember like being like I don't have my phone. Like I don't know. I remember that always being. My sister definitely got her phone taken away,
Mhm.
but I don't remember being like. I think I would love to get my phone taken away. Someone take my phone now.
I know. I know.
I don't remember being like, oh, I don't have it for a week. That stinks. Or going to my
Mhm.
friends and it's like, oh, on my phone, can I text my crush? Like I don't remember that,
Mhm.
but I probably would have done that.
I wasn't allowed to text boys
Oh, really?
up until I don't know, maybe like high school.
Oh my gosh. There was like a rule that was like pure to check. It would be like we are giving you this phone as your parents, but like we reserve the right. I could pick it up at any moment,
Mhm.
and that was great accountability. And I remember one time I was in 8th grade at parent-teacher conferences. We were sitting there waiting for my teacher. I definitely had a crush. I was texting and thought I was in love. And right before my teacher walks over, my dad's like, "Hey, can I see your phone real quick?"
Oh gosh, your dad does that to me now,
And
and I
he
don't
like
care, but
sat he had my phone waiting for the teacher to come and I'm thinking like, oh no, he's gonna see I've been texting a boy and like I have a crush like
which was fine,
it
but
was
you didn't want
fine.
him to
But I
know.
didn't talk to them about
Yeah,
it. I was
yeah.
like, what? I don't want you to know. And we get done and he's like, so who's so and so? And I remember just it was the longest conference of my life. And like, gosh, this is terrible.
Yeah. Your dad, he loved to like embarrass. And I remember like as a kid, like, please don't call me out. Please don't call me out. Or please don't look at my phone. Like, please don't. My parents weren't that. They weren't like loud about it, but your dad was definitely loud. Or like, I know he would like drop you and Caleb off at school or something and would just be lay on the horn. Yeah.
Just always. My sister says
I
he
kind
made
of,
us embarrass proof.
yeah, I kind of
When
would,
need to do that for your
yeah,
kids.
I feel
Yeah,
like
it's good for
it
them.
is good.
Oh my
Makes
gosh.
them humble, you know,
Yeah,
humbles them.
keeps them grounded.
Grounded. Yeah. These are your roots, honey. This is where you come from.
My dad would like roll down if I was in the passenger side window. He would roll down my window at a red light, and there's like a group of kids I go to school with, but I'm not
Mhm.
friends with.
Mhm.
And it just looks like I'm rolling my window down to say something. Naturally, we all turn and look at each other, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Hi," like, "Hey there."
One time in high school, my dad, he drove this is so horrible, but we called it I'll bleep this out probably, but a rapist van. And my consequences, I had to drive that to school. I parked out in the boondocks. I parked
You had to
so,
drive that, Geppetto.
yeah, Geppetto. We called it Geppetto too. And like kids would write on it like free candy. Kids, we would write on it like just to mess with my dad, like free candy. I know. It's so bad.
Gosh.
So one day when we're a bit wiser, we're going to look back on this episode and probably just cringe, but I'm really excited to do it
I know.
as
I'm
of right now.
curious what I want to talk to my parents about this. What
Mhm.
because I mean I didn't obviously know what we were going to talk about. I want to talk to my
Yeah.
sister about her disciplining because I don't know that they have spanked Wilson. I don't know. I know it's definitely like go to your room.
Mhm.
They talk, but she's 6.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
I'm
actually
curious
don't know.
too. I know that my niece and nephew definitely got spanked when they were younger. Something your dad would do that would like, always embarrass me. So my
That's
my
funny.
uncle Lance, he's a big guy, and he would literally, like, at sports games or you name it, I can't imagine how many times this happened to you, but he would just lift up his shirt
He just
or,
and
like, just touch his nipple or something.
oh my gosh.
Just,
And it's
"Yep,
like
that's Pastor Lance."
it's like, dude, yeah, there's some people that I
I love you, Unky.
I just said this to someone the other day that I think that they I mean,
We talk about your dad so
I
much.
know, can't wait to have them on.
I
I
know.
can't. Well, let's just say on our
Yeah.
Father's Day, we're gonna have both of our dads on and can't wait.
And they're, like, really good friends too, so I'm so and they grew up together,
Lived together at
lived
some
together,
point.
roommates,
Yeah, they're a
college.
hoot.
They were in choir together.
Yeah. But my dad, I would tell people like, it's funny when people just see the Pastor Lance version,
It
like
is
in his dry
funny.
clean shirt and his whatever slacks. And I'm like,
Yeah.
to me, my dad's more like cloth shorts rubbing Dorito cheese off of him. Like, that's my dad.
That's so
Like, that's
true.
my dad.
Yeah.
He literally will have
He means
my
well.
mom will make him put a kitchen towel over the arm of the couch. Literally rub
that
cheese
is
off.
that is sick. He needs those little, things that
Towelette?
Jack
Oh,
made.
yeah.
The little
Yeah.
grabbers. Gripper
But, oh my
grabbers.
gosh, yeah, we would be in the grocery store and he would just lift up his shirt and he always just sticks his belly out like that. Or he would go, so I'm just totally airing it all out, literally, dad. He would go to pick a wedgie in his cloth shorts and he would lean over as he's picking the wedgie
Yeah.
in
He
just the
totally
grocery
would.
store, maybe a little shake of the ankle.
Ah!
Like, come on.
He's so
That's
right.
my embarrassed proof father. So
I'm
it does take a
so
lot. I
excited
feel
to
like
have them on.
I know.
My dad is very similar to Bailey, and then I'm very similar to Bailey's dad.
Yeah.
So I think that dynamic's gonna be really fun. Like on the Enneagram,
Hardwiring.
you and
We're
my dad
literally
are the
the
same,
same
and then
in
I'm the same
yeah.
as your dad. So that'll be fun. Father's Day, which is in June or May? May. I always get mixed up with Mother's and Father's Day.
I
I don't
feel
know.
like I wanna say Mother's Day's first, but I don't know.
Well, you guys, that wraps it up for this episode. That was really fun to talk
Yeah,
about.
that was fun. And let us know what you think. I'm curious. And I think we kind of went a little all over the place
Mhm.
about discipline, whatever. It's a very interesting topic.
It is. It's biblical. I do know that, and I wanna carry that into my house for sure.
Yeah.
If you guys love true crime, I like true crime. Next week, we're going to be doing a deep dive into kind of the psychology of true crime. Why are people attracted to true crime? I wanna know why. Like, why do I like listening to this stuff?
Mm.
So
I'm
let's
so
talk about it.
excited.
Yeah. I know it's really cool. I'm still like doing some research and stuff, but it's coming together and I'm excited to share it.
Yay. Yeah.
And it's so
That'll
good
be
to be
good.
back, you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
We missed, like, seriously, I missed this. I
did
missed
too.
recording. It's
Yeah.
so fun. I
Mhm.
mean, which is a good sign that we missed it and we love it.
Yes. Yeah. It seriously brings us joy from within.
Yeah.
Like this is where we're supposed to be. Thank you, Jesus, every day for it.
Literally. Okay.
Mhm.
We will see you guys next week. We won't go away for another month.
Yes. We love you guys. Until next week.